All right, I'm super excited to be here with my dear friend and, well, mentor. She just paved the way for all of us that do practice management coaching, Linda Miles. Linda, thank you for joining me tonight.
I'm so happy to be here, Penny. Thank you.
Yeah. And hey, thank you for, well, let's just say this, for your patience. And also we want to pause for just a second or two to give our condolences to Beulah, as I named her, your beloved desktop computer that you had for many years that did not want to play with us on Facebook Live last week.
But thank goodness the laptop is working well.
Absolutely. Well, super excited to be with you. Thank you to those of you that have joined us. We're glad to have you as well. So, Linda, one of the things that I wanted to be sure that we talked about tonight is just the role of culture in the dental practice and what role that you feel that culture, which is sort of a fuzzy word. So I'd also like to know how you define culture, but what role do you see that plays in the dental practice?
Oh, I think culture is everything, Penny. And when I think of the word culture, I think of energy. And I believe that the energy in a practice determines a lot of the success. And energy being the energy of the dentist filters to the energy of the team. They pick up on the doctor's energy. And frankly, our patients pick up on the team's energy. So I think it's critical that all dentists, if they're not naturally energized when they come to work in the morning, they need to pretend. Because I believe that culture and energy are synonymous. And I think that has a lot to do with going home stressed out, tired versus going home tired, but happy.
Happy, tired, right? And one other thing too, I mean, everything is connected because you can think we have a great culture, but we're just not hitting our numbers. Well, you know what? It all feeds off of itself, right? You can't go home happy, tired if you're the business owner and you're not making money. And obviously, if you're the business owner and you're stressed out, your team, they're not happy.
You're going to feel it, and the patients pick up on it.
Absolutely. And I love that whole term about the energy, right? We may think that we're neutral, but really it's either a positive vibe that we put out, or it's not, which means it's the opposite. And I would love to hear your thoughts. I can usually feel it.
I can too.
If I don't feel it immediately when I walk into an office, I feel it within just a few minutes of being there. It's not something that can be faked.
That is so true. And patients are very, they perceive the body language. They watch the energy between the front office, the back office. They even pick up on the energy of the dentist and the dental assistant as they're working on the patient. When I'm the patient, I don't want that doctor to be annoyed or rushed or sort of a little bit ticked off that they're running a little bit late. I personally think that when patients are in the chair, their sense of hearing, sense of perception, sense of smell, everything is amplified when they're under a stressful situation. And I don't know too many people that say, oh, I get to go to the dentist today, I'm so happy. We hope that they feel that way, but I believe culture plays a major role in the day-to-day stress level and the day-to-day success level.
Oh, absolutely. And I joked when I introduced you as Dentistry's ToothFairy Godmother, but I kind of want to show them. Do you have your wand handy?
I do have my little pink wand.
Yeah, your little pink wand.
It's my magic, and I have my shirt on.
Yes, and it's funny. Yeah,
my shirt, but
we're so zoomed in. Thank you. So she's like the honorary matriarch. I'm calling her, helping put the word out regarding the event that I'm having in May at Disney World for dentists and their leadership teams. And I also have some clients that are bringing their whole team.
I'm so really excited
about that. But as a consultant and a coach, I mean, how many times did you wish you could just wave your magic wand over a practice and change it for them?
there were so many practices that I took great note when I was an employee. Don was in the Air Force 21 years, so we moved, and I was often the last hired dental auxiliary.
Mhm.
And not only did I pick up on the energy and the culture when I was an employee, I actually picked up on it in every single practice, more than 800 or 900 that I personally consulted. So
Wow.
I believe that happy practices set the stage for happy results. And I honestly don't believe that any company, the employees in any company are going to buy into the culture, to buy into the mission. I think a lot of it is, does the dentist trust, or does the employer trust his or her employees?
So
Because
important.
trust breeds loyalty. And
Mhm.
I worked for some pretty, important and significant dentists in my career as an employee, but it wasn't until my last practice that the culture was exactly what you're teaching at Disney to
Mhm.
the teams that come. And that is, he was a born leader before leadership was even discussed in our profession. I worked there in the 70s, and it was like, it wasn't his practice, it was our practice. And I
Right.
never really had a dentist who ever said to me, um, you know, something isn't 100%. And he'd look at the four of us, it was a small startup, and
Mhm.
say, I need your help. And I felt like I was important. My
Mhm.
contribution, even though he may not take what I said or anyone else said to heart, it was his practice, but he pretended as if it was all of our practice. And
Right.
the patients that complimented our practice often said, I just love coming here. You all work so well together. And for us, we didn't even notice that there was such a difference in that culture until the compliments started coming from patients. They noticed it. We
Wow.
noticed it. And so that's where I learned a lot of the teaching that I did over the last 36 years. And that was by having the experience personally of the
Mhm.
major, vast difference in the culture.
Well, and I think a lot, oftentimes, I mean, dentistry is stressful. Even when you talk about the happy tired, even with the offices that quote unquote have it all together or have the more positive work environment, it's still not easy,
It's not.
by any stretch of the imagination. But once you've experienced it, you really want to be in an environment like that. And we've seen a lot of technology change. I mean, I know you did, I still continue to see it. Vanessa Emerson with the Dental Speakers Institute, she made a post on her page a few weeks back, and it was something that said, what are the changes that you've seen in dentistry? And I was like, well, when I was as an office manager, nobody had a cell phone. I mean, they might have had them in the bag in their car, whatever those
And
phones.
it was the size of a brick, and it went in your glove compartment.
Right. There was no texting. Um, I remember when we went from the computers that did the statements, the printer, and it would do the right to the laser printer. We thought we
Mhm.
had, died and gone to heaven.
Payola.
Yeah. I mean, the intraoral cameras were on a cart, and they were about the size of R2D2 from Star
Right.
Wars. So
Mhm.
the technology keeps advancing, yet there's most things still require a human, right? If to set it up, right? If it's a
Exactly.
patient reminder system, the camera has to have someone to use it. The CAD cam has to have someone to use it. Um, and they're interacting with the patient. And I think no matter how advanced dentistry gets, and you're right, so much of that work chairside, it's going on around the right, like the nerve center, their whole nucleus, they're just laying there, right? It's not like we've got them strapped down, but there's not a whole lot of places they can look. So they are hypersensitive
Mhm.
to what's going
Very.
on. I
They
think
and
that's
they feel the environment. They feel everything, and they love to be in a dental practice where there's professional fun.
mm-hmm,
And I think that fun practices are the absolute best places to work. I don't mean silly fun, and
Right.
unprofessional fun, but where it's light and lively. And if they
Mm-hmm.
make a mistake, there's no criticism, there's no pouting, there's no negative body language. It's like, okay, we've got this. You know,
Right.
this has happened before, and let's see how we can not even let the patients know it happened. Because
Right. And just
it
dust
will happen.
ourselves off, or pixie dust ourselves off, right.
Pixie
And get right
dust.
back in there. Yeah.
That's right.
Um, so when you think about Disney, right, which I mean, Disney has their hand in a lot of things now. So I'm more talking about the theme parks, the resorts. Um, how can you see that that dentistry can learn from the culture that Disney has, and what correlations do you see there?
Oh, I see a lot of correlation, and I love Disney. I don't go often, but now that I live in Florida, I plan to go more often. But everyone that walks through through the gates to get to the Magic Kingdom, they
Hmm.
all grow big black ears and they turn into a 6-year-old. And I think that that type of creativity and that type of innocence and that type of culture. Plus, we can learn by the neatness that the Disney parks are spotless.
Hmm.
Their employees are very creative and very happy. And I was going to write another book, but a book takes a year to write, 6 months to edit. So I'm putting you in charge of the book I wanted to write, Penny.
Okay, awesome.
It
Yeah, I
takes
might.
20 years.
Hey, I have my Mickey. This is
And
not
that is
Mickey's
not an
bad. I have
obscene.
my Mickey. I'm making a note. Go ahead.
He's pointing. He is not
Yes,
being
he's
obscene.
pointing. He's jotting that down for you.
But anyway, the book that I was going to write, and it takes a year to write it, 6 months to edit it, and 20 years to sell it. No way do I want to spend that amount of time. So it was going to be entitled, and you can change it, Unhappy Employees, an International Epidemic. And it's all about how I personally do not believe that there's a customer service problem in medical, dental, retail, airlines. I don't believe there's a customer service issue. I do believe there's a leadership issue and a culture issue, because the uh, frontline workers will treat consumers exactly the way upper and middle management treats them.
Hmm.
So it all filters from leadership to develop this culture. And one of the things I loved most back in the late 70s was looking at my doctor's philosophy of patient care. I
Hmm.
never had a dentist that ever wrote it. And it was actually framed and near our front desk area. His philosophy of patient care. It's sort of
Hmm.
like a mission statement, but short. And I was so impressed that I could relay that to our patients.
Hmm.
And one of the things he said about me one day, we had a small office so he could hear everything at the front desk.
Hmm.
He said, I love to hear you talking to new people on the telephone and telling them, I don't know who may we thank for referring you to our practice. I don't know how much she told you, but let me assure you, you're going to enjoy visiting our practice. And he
Hmm.
said he never had an employee that complimented him to a patient before they met him. And I said, well, I didn't realize I was doing it, but I've never worked in a dental environment or culture where
Hmm.
the boss complimented us and transferred patient compliments. Well, I'm glad you like my office. Actually, these 4 wonderful ladies do it all.
Wow.
Yeah, so that
Wow.
made us, we didn't even need cars to drive home, Penny. We just floated home on,
Just flew home.
yeah, we just,
That's fantastic.
and it was so easy for me to promote my doctor's practice in and out of the office because I felt valued. And that is a key component of a happy dental culture.
Hmm. No, I think that's so true. And one of the things, a couple of years back, I had the opportunity to become a certified Dale Carnegie training program
Mm-hmm.
trainer.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that guy, he really did write the book on how to win friends and influence people. And not only do we have a leadership deficit, which is what
Uh-huh.
you were referring to earlier, showing honest and sincere appreciation is not a skill that a lot of people are just born with, or it evolves. And even for those that do it, and I believe that you're one of the people that does it naturally, more than likely you heard that from someone as a child. You know, there was more than likely an influence in your life. So showing appreciation isn't something that most people are born with. It's a skill to be taught.
It
And
is.
as leaders, and sometimes depending on the coaching relationship that I have with clients, we actually have to practice that. I mean, I will give them they're like, I'm terrible at that. I'm like,
I
well,
know.
you may think you need a better script or a better way to schedule or a better financial conversation, and you may, yet until you really can show appreciation to your team, they're probably not going to take direction from you. They're
Well,
not going to do the phone conversation the way that, oh, telling the patient, oh, Linda, you're going to love our practice, because they don't love it.
that's
You
true.
know,
And there's
they
four
can't
words.
share something they don't have.
That's true. There's 4 words that I taught my clients in the last 10 years. I wish I'd have thought of them like 30 years ago, but it's so easy. Just like I would say to my clients, you know, the clinical dentistry that you do so beautifully
Mm-hmm.
is just Greek to me. And how to get your team on board is oftentimes Greek to people who are technically and you know, more into the clinical aspect. But there's 4 words that I gave them. And
Mm-hmm.
if you do these 4 words in sequence, you'll have the culture we're talking about, and you'll have a dynamic dental team. And that is hire them,
Mm-hmm.
train them, trust them, and praise them. Hire, train,
That's
trust, and
awesome.
praise.
Mm-hmm.
That's the formula. And how could my doctor brag about his team if we weren't trained?
Right.
And how could he trust me to do what he gave me to do without training? So training to me, Penny, and what you do and what all of our friends and colleagues do, that is the key to helping the dentist who, you know, invest in coaches and advisors. To us, it's so easy because we understand that principle. And for high-tech people or clinically adept people,
Mm-hmm.
and two, a lot of my clients said, no, I don't compliment or praise my team in front of their coworkers and patients, because if I do it for one, it'll make the others mad. So, and if I compliment them, they'll want a raise. And it's like, doctor, you don't quite get this, but if you compliment them, they're going to be so happy. There will be extra money for pay increases, and it all falls to the bottom line eventually.
Absolutely. Well, and not to everyone who doesn't want to earn more, right? I mean,
Exactly.
everybody does. That's the American dream, right? Is to do less and make more money. I don't think that it works, you know,
Well,
more
we
than just for
all,
the people that write books on how to do things like that.
that's right. We all work to provide a better lifestyle for our family. I mean,
Sure.
let's face it, the doctor, the team, everybody in
Mm-hmm.
business. And so if you have the right culture and the right formula for getting everybody on the same page,
Mm-hmm.
it's just magic, which is what you
Absolutely.
teach.
Absolutely. Well, and one of the things too, that I have found as far as reinforcing with clients is not only do we have to define how we want the team to show up and talk to
Mhm.
them about it, but we have to model it.
We
So
have to walk the talk.
if the team hears the doctor complimenting other team members, it encourages them to compliment the other team members. And
Mhm.
how much time, you know, which I know we've got other consultants I see on here. I see, you know, team members in some of the offices I'm in. You know, hey there, Dr. Gersicle, thanks for tuning in. You know, so we've got a variety of different, you know, roles here. But
Mhm.
if team members had a better ability to show appreciation to each other and get along better, how much less would they need people like us? Because it's not that they don't have tools in their toolbox. A lot of it is just that whole relationship part that gets
With each other.
out of whack
Well,
with
and
each
the other,
other.
right,
Mhm.
the other missing part, when we talk about praise and compliments, dentists are not getting the praise and appreciation from their team.
Mm-mm.
And so when you hear someone talk about who's going to start this, the answer is you are. And
Right.
it is contagious.
Mm-hmm.
Only because my doctor complimented his team did it encourage us that this is the environment he likes. This is the environment our patients like. Let's do more of it. And the longer I worked there, I was there 4 years, and the longer I worked in that environment, the easier it was for all of us to get along and to support one another. And I think
Yeah.
that's a huge stressor for dentists. I mean, I told them in a seminar, when you go to dental school, they don't build you up. The professors don't usually. And
No,
then
that's true.
when you get out of dental school, you start a practice and you assemble a team and you walk into the staff lounge, the talking stops. You know they were talking ugly about the boss. And then the poor doctors go home and sometimes their family doesn't even like them and love them. So where
Mm-hmm.
does it start? The team needs to do as much appreciation and praise of their doctor and his or her dentistry. They need to do that, and it makes it easier for the doctor to reciprocate.
Absolutely. Well, one, without naming any names, right? Because it doesn't ever do us any good when we're trying to have a teaching principle. So this is not to throw anyone under the bus, but I once talked with someone regarding showing appreciation or giving a compliment,
Mm-hmm.
and their response was, well, once they've done something worthy of some appreciation or a compliment, then I'll do that. Well, with that viewpoint, right, no one would ever, you start with some small thing that they've done well, and
Right.
it opens them up to be willing to be coachable and receive
Well,
that
and
information.
I felt so sorry for one of my doctors years ago when he said, Linda, I want to do more of the what you're talking about, but
Hmm.
I truly don't know how. He said, for instance, I hate Valentine's Day because Hallmark tells me I need to buy a gift or a card for my wife. I told her 20 years ago I loved her, and if I change my mind, I'll let her know.
Right.
And I felt really bad for him because he truly did not know where to start with compliments and praise.
Hmm.
And I felt bad for him.
Well, and it's true, and so not that we're necessarily doing a workshop tonight, but there's a formula, and I teach it in a lot of my culture workshops to say, you find something, and 20 seconds is really, if it goes any longer than 20 seconds, it's really uncomfortable. But you look for some positive attribute, and just like you were an attorney, either trying to promote your point or defend your point, you're clear and specific.
Yes.
So a team member can say, wow, Linda, if you were a dentist, Dr. Miles, that is a beautiful crown.
Right.
The patient's thinking,
Praising it.
oh, well,
And it's
it's
in
great,
my mouth
right?
is
It
what the
is.
patient
Or,
is.
wow, that you were right. We did need to take the extra couple of minutes here at the beginning to, do, that procedure or that process. That was great thinking, and
Mhm.
just look at the results, or complimenting the doctor when they're not in the room. But by the same token with the team, wow, I
Mhm.
know that every time Mrs. Jones comes in, she can be a little bit tough, but when you told her that she looked nice today, or it's always great to see her,
They
I could
warm
just
up.
see her whole demeanor change. And
Mhm.
I just wanted to let you know, I really appreciate that you made that effort.
Yes, it's looking for what they do well
Hmm.
and not looking for the mistakes. And I've always mentioned this, that you praise publicly, you reprimand and train privately.
Absolutely. Or I heard a guy that is higher up. You'll love this. We think dentistry's hard. How would you like to be in the funeral home business? That's what my husband works for, one of the largest funeral home companies, which, they're very much needed. But one of their top regional managers, when we were out to dinner one night, he said, never shame, blame, or frame
Oh,
one
that's
of
a good
your,
one
what,
of the
like, I
code.
don't know who said that, but that's just awesome. If you need to correct someone, do it privately. Now you may need to, in the heat of the game, say, hey, can we do this way? But then when you sit down to have that conversation,
The corrections
it
are
doesn't need to be
here.
on stage.
Yes,
It needs to be
absolutely.
backstage. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which again, I'll kind of come back to the whole point of Disney. One of the things about this retreat that I'm doing is there will be a Business Behind the Magic private tour for our group where we get to go behind the scenes to places that you can't go on the individual behind the scenes tour even. But when I went on my first behind the scenes tour, that was when this idea really hit me. This has probably been about 10 or 12 years ago that I thought I'd love to do something like this in dentistry, because we were honorary cast members.
Wow.
For certain conversations that we had on stage, which was the area where the guests were, or which would be our patients. And then there were certain things that we were not to do or talk about off stage. And in the dental office, I mean, I use that example, but I say, every day when we show up in the practice, it's like a Broadway musical. There's no business like Smile Business, starring us, right? But I don't sing because that tends to scare people a little bit. But it's true, right? I mean, we come in and we all have a role to play, the starring cast members or the dentist. And if they forget their lines, be sure and ask Linda about her trip that she just took to blank, or well, how soon do you recommend that she have this crown done, because there's just so much about dentistry that patients don't understand. But just kind of tying it all in here, and then I'll want you to have the last word, and then I'll mention a little special offer for those that tune in and watch this regarding the retreat. But one of the things that I love about the whole Disney culture is, number one, I didn't realize Walt Disney had passed away before I was even born. Right. Due to the magic of television, like sort of what we're doing now, but on Facebook, he was larger than life, right? I mean, they do a great job of creating and illustrating that clear picture, but he gave such a definition to culture, even though he wasn't perfect. He never set foot in any of the Orlando parks, which is where this takes place. And yet you can feel the environment when you're
feel him there.
You can feel him there. And
the animation.
Absolutely. So when we really make it clear the kind of environment and culture that we want for our team and our patients, it can go much beyond, our tenure there in the practice, in the office. It can carry on through generations. And I think that's really what we're striving for. And again, it's not easy, and culture's work is never done. You can't ever, right? We got check that off. We don't have to work on that anymore. But I would love to, for you to kind of just bring us home here, or any final parting words. And then I'll mention an offer for those that are tuning in, if they're ready to sign up for the retreat.
Well, I certainly hope that a lot of people sign up, Penny, because years ago, a lot of dentists took their team at least twice a year to something. And a retreat at Disney World with a backstage pass to be one of the honorary cast members, I can't imagine what a benefit that would be. And that experience will carry over to their dental practice, and they'll get it. And
absolutely. It's a mindset shift that you can't get at the at the Holiday Inn in your little small town with a consultant coming to see you, right? No matter how hard we try, we can't give you that experience there.
Well, I hope you have 1,000 people at your course. I don't know how large the room is, but I think dentists that are watching should definitely set a goal for the November's gone, December, January, and February months, and definitely get registered and get some excitement going in the practice prior to the retreat. And then once they're there, it's just going to be magical for the whole year coming up.
Absolutely. Well, and I think even carrying forward, there will be experiences. And right now we've got over a dozen doctors and team members that are coming. And so we at this point have a lot of capacity because we still have a great bit of time. But the structure of the meeting will not only be, talking about the Disney portions, but what drives the leadership and the development of the organization. So especially for practices that are adding other doctors, other locations.
Changing the culture.
Hugely important. So we have a capacity in this room to hold about 100 attendees. So, you know, not to say, oh, you know, hey, let's wait. Just like anything else, the longer you wait, we've got discounts built in, right, if you sign up sooner. But I'll also mention, if you're a Star Wars fan, this has nothing to do with me. This just has to do with a little coincidence. If we've got any Star Wars people, we will be there for May the 4th. And you know, the whole joke about May the 4th be with you, May the Force be with you. There's going to be all sorts of crazy stuff going on in the parks there as well. But Linda, I just thank you so much, not only for everything I've learned from you, but your friendship. And man, you want to talk about energy and a vibe. You have a culture yourself, just with the vibe that you put out there, and no wonder that you have the legacy that you have in this work that we do. And I'm just
I didn't do it alone, Penny. I had a fabulous team.
Well, see, there you go. And look at you practicing the appreciate, and it's sincere, right? None of us can do this work without our team. So I'm glad that you're on my team.
Well, thank you so much.
Look forward to our continued relationship. But thank you guys for tuning in. The offer that I mentioned, when you sign up, you go to magicaldentalretreats.com, and if you'll type in the referred by field, $100 off Linda Miles. You can just type that in there. When you register, all you do is pay the deposit, and then we'll work your remainder of your tuition into equal monthly payments. So
that sounds wonderful.
Yeah. So it's helpful with cash flow, right? Because that's what else we do is practice coaching.
The other thing, Penny, is that airfare to Orlando is reasonable.
Absolutely.
So the team can go. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. So thank you so much, Linda.
Welcome.
Again, I appreciate you. Thank you, friends, for tuning in. And we hope that you'll share this session with others on Facebook as well. And thank you to our sponsors. I just want to mention that as far as the retreat goes, because I know that they're sharing that. We've got some awesome sponsors: Care Credit, Solution Reach, Dental Intel. We have Linda Harvey with her Compliance Institute, eAssist. So thank you to all of our partners out there. And again, thank you guys for your time. I hope you have a magical Monday evening.
Thank you, Penny.
Thanks, Linda.